welcome to another Sci-Fi Fantasy Saturday. And today, I have a special treat. This is kind of an extension or a continuation of an earlier piece I did on Sci-Fi Fantasy Saturday, where I talked about Frontiers, which is a sci-fi miniatures game. Actually, it's a board game, but it's a miniatures game. Which is it? Well, it's basically taking the aspects of a miniatures game, putting them on counters and using the counters as miniatures. So this is, kind of a hybrid of miniatures and board game. And this developed into the system Heroes of Normandie, which is a full-on board game. Again, it still has a lot of the feel of miniatures. This is a solid World War II small unit tactical. You're dealing with squads and heroes, individuals even in this game, and their equipment and tanks and vehicles and anti-tank guns and demolitions and all that fun stuff in a box. And it's got a lot of a miniatures feel to it, but yet it is a board game, and this one actually has a board, where Frontiers did not have a board. It had kind of like a measuring ruler that you would have in typical miniatures game, to check out range and movement and the like. This one you actually have a board and move on a board. As you can see from the art, this is very cartoonish to some extent, but not quite silly. It's on the verge of silly. Some of you might think it goes over the line there, but it's just on the verge of that. But to me, it's very aesthetically appealing. I mean, it's a top-down view because it's, again, draw from that miniatures type vibe. So you got a top-down view of the tanks and the units and what have you. And on the counters, it's, to me, I like it. It's crisp, it's clean, it's, again, appealing. But some of the art in here, you might, if you're a diehard war gamer or want to take everything, you want to take everything seriously, not necessarily too seriously, then this might not be for you, because it is on that verge of whimsy in some respect. Because what this is trying to do, this is taking some of the classic movie tropes of, Dirty Dozen, Kelly's Heroes, those larger-than-life, kind of highly fictionalized World War II movies, and putting it in a box. So that's kind of the theme of this game. Again, it's World War II units, the counters and the units and the abilities and the vehicles and all that have some semblance and basis in World War II and the combat effectiveness of those units, but it's done in somewhat more of a cartoonish or whimsical fashion, and it's basically kind of drawing on that theme of these, flamboyant heroes that, come in a blaze of glory and save the day or rob the bank or whatever have you. So that's Heroes of Normandie, which came from Frontiers, and now they're taking it to Shadows of Normandie, and that's why this is, again, kind of on a sci-fi fantasy, because, it's horror. It's Cthulhu, and they're taking this to the supernatural realm. So this is World War II meets Cthulhu. This is kind of like Tannhauser. That's a game that came out more than a decade ago, or Castle Wolfenstein, if you guys remember the computer game. This is the Axis, or the Germans have been given their soul to the occult and have, kind of fallen in line with Cthulhu, or the cultists of Cthulhu, and you're a lost ranger patrol and trying to, fight your way through enemy territory and supernatural territory to win the day in World War II. So there's still a lot of World War II units in here, and it's got the same system as Heroes of Normandie. But what they've added is they've added the supernatural. So they've added a whole Cthulhu overlay to this. And so there's terror, and there's all kinds of different special abilities that you would find in a Cthulhu or horror-based game. You're fighting it with World War II level units. So I'm excited to get into this game because I got this from Noble Knight as part of the recent sale. And these games, I think the Hero of Normandie's boxes or the general sets go from anywhere, I don't know, you can probably find them for maybe, $40 now. I think at retail they used to be like 50, possibly even 60. This was a steal. This was under 20. I think it might even got under 15, probably because it had this right here. I mean, Noble Knight, that takes pride in marking stuff as, excellent condition or fair condition or near mint condition, all that. And this was listed as, having a problem because of this tear on the box right here. But the contents are perfect. I mean, there was no shrink wrap. There was this tear. Other than that, everything is mint. This is an excellent condition and fully accounted for. And so, I like getting deals. And so I couldn't resist this one. And this was a heck of a deal because everything is, other than that little crack right there or split, everything's perfect in here. So anyway, so this is Shadows over Normandy. If you want a good solid miniature system that's been converted to a board game with the World War II units and combat effectiveness, then Heroes of Normandy might be your game. If you don't like the art or think it's a little too whimsical, then you're probably not going to like the game. And if you don't like Cthulhu or taking World War II to an alt history type situation with supernatural effects, then you're probably definitely not going to like Shadows of Normandy. However, if you reverse all those things, you might love this. And if you like the reverse of those things, you might love this. Play it back later, it might make sense to you. So this is the rule booklet. It's 19 pages. You've got this nice chart here on the back, talks about all the special abilities, the game phases. So this is a nice little player aid that you can have on the back there to not have to, refer to the rules all the time. There is a lot of iconography on here because, again, you're taking a miniature, instead of having like a little stat sheet or something off to the side, all the information is on the counter itself. But it's all done like special abilities are done with these symbols, and they have this little grid that shows you what its attack and defense is based on whether you're fighting against another infantry unit or a light armored unit or a heavy armored unit. It's all nicely portrayed on the counter itself, but there's a lot of information there, right? And plus it is also trying to show you the art because it's really showing off this kind of whimsical art. I gotta stop using a different word. I don't want to say cartoonish all the time, but I like the art, but I can see how somebody who's steeped in this is war and there's no crying in baseball, I can see people not liking that. As I said, it's 19 pages, but there's a lot of explanation in here. Like these pages right here, the last 2 or 3 pages is all explanatory on the special abilities and how they work and the like here. As you can see, there's the font is relatively small, it's dual column, and it's tightly packed with a lot of images throughout. So, this is not your typical war game rule booklet, where you have like the case and then the subcase and then the subcase to the subcase or the exception to the exception or what have you. There's a lot of information throughout here, and you can, it's almost like visual overload sometimes when you go through one of these rule books. This is all about recruitment options. This game is highly customizable. There's like a campaign where you play through these. I mean, you can play these scenarios individually, but there's kind of a campaign type where you can play them through sequentially. But there's a lot of customization in here. This is another tip to the cap to miniatures in that, there's like you can build a point system and like give each side like 200 points and then do a scenario. Because they're somewhat balanced by the point system. If both sides have the same amount of points, they can build out their own units. Now, it's going to be asymmetrical in that regard, but there should be some of a balance there if you balance out by the points. And it's highly customizable. What units you pick, what leaders you pick, what heroes you pick, what vehicles you pick, what equipment, demolitions or anti-tank guns or whatever there's a lot of stuff to choose through in this game. Now, what I don't know is if this is, backwards compatible, meaning can I bring in stuff from Heroes of Normandy, the standard World War II stuff to fight against this supernatural stuff that's in here. I would think I can, but I haven't researched that very much. There is a World War II unit in here, like a Lost Patrol of Rangers, I believe it is, that should be based somewhat more on what the Heroes of Normandy World War II forces are. but I don't know. I don't know that for a fact. I'm hoping that I can do that, because that would add even more customizing or customability, is that a word, to this whole game. This is talking about terrain and how to use terrain. Again, this is a small unit tactical game, kind of pulling from miniatures. So terrain is going to be very important, and line of sight and all that stuff. Again, all that's on the board though, or it's on the terrain that you, or the overlay that you put on the board. All that information is on the counters or on the board, and it is done in a very, intuitive and I think kind of a efficient way to convey that information. Night and fog, terror. This is something that's new to Shadows, because this is something that that the supernatural Cthulhu forces are bringing in, or the cults or monsters or whatever. There's a terror aspect, and so there's going to be some of those counters are going to have different. Some of the Cthulhu mythos manifestations might have some of this. Might have that icon on there, and that adds a different special ability to, or a different rule that you have to deal with there. So when you're looking at the game itself, it's about 9 pages as far as rules are concerned. By the time you get the components, you get the action, how it works, how you move, how you assault, what happens in a game turn, and then that's 9 pages. The rest of this is, some special abilities like surge, terror, night fog, and terrain. Of course, terrain is going to be very important, but the rules aren't that complex, although visually, as I said, it could be overwhelming just visually if you look at some of this stuff. But look at that art. Come on, you gotta love that. It's got a cross and a gun. That is I think that's a priest there, or clergy. Here's an explanation of the counter. As I said, there's a lot on that counter, but you can see here this bottom kind of quad here tells you like this right here is combat bonus versus infantry. This is combat bonus versus light vehicles, and then you got combat bonus versus heavy vehicles. So you have a little bit of a triangle there. Infantry, light, heavy. Then in the bottom of that is the defense value. So that's a core mechanic to any unit that you come across. Then you have a movement value. Then the rest of these icons are all special abilities and do something different. And then you also have the faction badge, like this is the Ranger there, if you can see that. And then you've got a little bit of the art. Again, it's a top-down, because you're again, it's evoking the miniatures aspect, where you're kind of looking at a top-down view of all the different units that are in the game. So that's the rules. Here's your campaign book, where it's going to, so it can be played kind of as a campaign. You're going to progress this way and play it through. But then there are some special rules talking about how you do the campaign, how you create the army. Again, there's a lot of customization in this, and how you build out your army. So that adds also to replayability. And then you have each of the scenarios, which you can play. I don't think you have to play them in any special order. You can just pick out a scenario and play it, or you can try to play it as the campaign. But you've got your setup, you've got any preparation or any recruitment rules that are special, any gameplay, and then the victory conditions. That's it. That's scenario 1. This is scenario 2, and so there's not a lot there that you need to kind of read up on once you know how to play the game. Now, this one has a little bit more different rules on recruitment, and each scenario is going to build out it differently. This is chapter 3 or scenario 3, and again, this has a little bit more rules to it, because you're getting a higher complexity as you play through this game, and you're getting different map boards that you're going to be using in chapter 7. And then this has a lot of art throughout here. So if you do like the supernatural or the Cthulhu myth or this kind of aspect in the art, then again, this might really be up your alley to look at this one here. And then 10 is the last one. There's a lot going on in that scenario, but it kind of tells you what your army recruitment is going to look like. And then, again, not a lot of rules there. And then you've got your player-generated clashes. So again, you don't have to play any of these scenarios. You can just use these rules here to try to balance the scenario between what are the point values you want to use, and then how you want to lay out the map boards on, like, what are some of the objectives, as far as laying out the map boards. So right there, that's, limitless, right? Amount of gameplay, just building out your own scenarios, which is kind of common for small unit tactical games these days. Lock and Load does this. Last 100 Yards has done this with recent releases. A lot of games, of course, Squad Leader has done that for a long time, or Advanced Squad Leader. I mean, having some rules set on how you build out, balanced forces and play scenarios that way. And so that's the campaign book. Then what else you get in the box here? And again, all this is right out of the box. I mean, this is like pristine. You get several map boards, and these are dual-sided. And as you can see here, you got a little bit, I don't know if this is like swamp or murkish or marsh or something, but this definitely prohibits movement unless you've got like this icon here, which is amphibious kind of stuff. So stuff that has amphibious can kind of move through this regular, otherwise it kind of slows you down, or I think adds some kind of disruption or some kind of counter to it. I can't remember. But you got some really cool looking and different features on the map boards here, and these are huge and big thickness. Look at that thickness there. So it's not mounted, but it's pretty close to it. And as you can see here, you can see some icons like this tells you that this needs amphibious. You've got other things here that shows like what is defense, or whether it blocks line of sight, or what can be moved in. All the different icons that are on the board tell you at a glance, once you know the iconography, whether you can move through it, or whether it blocks movement, or whether it blocks line of sight, or what have you, based on the terrain here. And so you got all kinds of different options here. And again, I would imagine you can probably port over some of the terrain from Heroes of Normandy and use that as well, but that would be making up your own scenarios, right? As part of the customization. So you got several boards here. Oh, look at that. You got a little bit of Cthulhu statue there, and bridges, and some steps, and all kinds of good stuff there. So these are the different, oh, look at that. It looks like something right out of Raiders of the Lost Ark there. They're going to open up the ark. So there's your map boards. You get 6 of those, very thick, dual-sided. Then you get 6 of these counter, I don't know where to put these, put them right here, of these, of your counters. Again, same thickness as the board, very thick. And you can see all the different units here. These are your Rangers. And again, you can see that there's the movement. And this guy is +2 against infantry, +2 against light vehicles or lightly armored vehicles, and then it can't do anything against heavily armored, and it's got 5 defense. And then it's got, I think that's like an assault or something, and then maybe an ammo ability. So, and then you can see here on the back here, this shows that this this counter can take 2 hits. So if it takes 1 hit, you'll flip it over, and then it's on this side, and then once it takes that hit, you see the little skull and crossbones there, then it's dead. So if you see this symbol right here, then you know that unit can take 2 hits, and because it'll flip over. If it just has a skull there, then this can only take 1 hit. So once this takes a hit, it's out of there, right? And as you can see, it's got a special on there. See, look, they come out pretty easy too. That one's already flipping out here. This is a commander or leader. And so these pop out, and you can put other stuff in here. There's all these different other equipment type things that you can put in, or special ability or skills that you can, or vehicles that you can pop in here as long as they match up the side here. See that purple and red there? Well, that can match up with this purple and red here, and you can pop that in here. And so this guy on his own is 45. It costs 45 points to use this one, but it's going to get 3 of these and this right here. And the star means that gives you how many command units you have. Again, this is something that, if you ever played HeroScape, this is kind of reminiscent of HeroScape. This is your orders that you put out, and based on how many stars you have collected from all your units is how many orders you're going to be able to put out on the board, hidden on your different units. And then you flip these over, and they go in order. So, like, one goes first or what have you. And some orders might just be a decoy or something. But these stars, you add up these stars, and that's going to tell you how many orders you get, and that's how you commit your actions. Either fire or move or what have you. What do you want to do on the board? So there's some special abilities that might add more stars, or you might add vehicles, or you might add special equipment, or you might add skills. There's all kinds of different things that you pop in here. So this guy's going to give you this right out of the box, and then you can add more stuff. And of course, they cost too. There's a cost to it, and that's part of the customization of this stuff. There's a lot of customization here. And so, that guy's going to come out no matter what. So, like, there's a 30 caliber, so that's going to cost extra 15. And then there's also, like, these. It's been a while since I played this, but I think that it gives you victory points. If you destroy these people, they give you a certain amount of victory points. Yeah, not seeing it on there, but in playing the game, I think that's what that is. Here's Father Ted, that guy we were talking about here. He costs 25. He gets his own little special counter that he puts on the board. Plus, he can put something in there that matches up, whether that's like a 30 caliber or whatever. Might be a skill. I'd have to go check, but you have to kind of match it up with the outline has to match up. But this pokes out, and you put these other special abilities in there. So you get a lot of counters. There's a vehicle, a Sherman right there. And see, the vehicles have a lot of icons because you have a primary gun and a secondary gun. And so there's a lot of special ability there. Then you have armor is different depending upon where you're looking at it. The armor is a little how you flank it, or what, or coming from the front or back, your armor is going to be a little different. So the vehicles have a little bit more information on it. As I said, I like the art. This one's a little bit darker than than Heroes of Normandy, but you still get still get a feel for the art and the characters. Now you see a lot of tentacles here. These are some of the baddies that you're going to be fighting, or if you're playing the other side, these are your the culmination of everything you've been following and worshiping over the years. Cthulhu is going to awake. So there's a lot of these characters here, and then they have there's some extra tentacles, and they have there's spells in here too. Here's Poison Blade, but I think the supernatural side gets to use some spells. Look at that Panzer there. That looks foreboding there. And again, everything's double-sided. Now, these have some numbers on the back. That's something that might be the victory points you think you get when you take those guys out. I believe you see that right there. These are amphibious. They can go through that one swampy, murky stuff. But you get a lot of counters in here. This is the third board. That goes to terrain. I don't know if that's some kind of weird anomaly there. Here is a building or a hut or something. So you've got, and it's got notations to tell you exactly what line of sight or what defense is, or how you deal with this. You've got some search tokens. There's a search aspect to this game. I don't think that was in the original game. Here's somebody. Here's a special character here that you can add a couple things to. Cost 35 points for that one. Here's the Deep One's Militia. So quite a bit of stuff there. As you can tell, I mean, there's a lot of variety and difference. I mean, this is a kind of like pre-painted miniatures, but they're put on a counter instead. I think this might be spells, maybe. Not sure. A lot of cool stuff there. Again, dual-sided. And even more. I mean, I gotta tell you. I mean, I'm not gonna tell you what I paid for this, but man, the price per cardboard is quite well. Let's put it that way. Maybe these are spells. Yeah, these are the spells right here. Life Drain, Mythos Barrier, Paralyze, Summon Star Spawn. Yeah, these are the spells right here. There's Sergeant Carter. He can add a couple of things to him. He costs 40, and then that just represents his counter, I think, on the that you'll put on the board. They'll have its own separate counter that you'll move around on the board. Oh, look at that big one. That's a Star Spawn. That's a big baddie right there. It's got 9 defense. He's pretty good against 4 against infantry, 3 against light, 2 against heavy. It's amphibious. I don't know if it's got wings. Does this thing fly? And it's got a couple of hits. Maybe you got to hit it twice or something. A lot of icons. There's another building on there. Here's your turn track. And this is something you might see in a miniatures game. This looks like it might be a spell or something, or showing you how it attacks. I'm not sure. But here's your track to keep track of stuff during the game. And then there's another mini. They just couldn't get it all on all the sheets there. So you got these as well. I think they're suppressed. I think if you move through that and you're not amphibious, I think you get suppressed. I think that's what happens there. Then you get, as I said, there's these these are these order counters or blocks. And there's one for the U.S., the Rangers. I think this is the Rangers. This is, one of them I think is the Cthulhu cultists, and one of them might be the Germans that went over to the dark side, if they weren't already there, right? So there you go. So those are your order counters, blocks there. Again, if you played Heroscape, that's kind of reminiscent of that. And Heroscape is a minis game. So there you have it. You get dice here, and it's unique for each of the different factions. You got 2 green, 2 black, and 2 blue, and they have their own symbol on there. Yeah, the black is the German forces. Then you have cards in here too. This isn't really a card game. This is really a miniature game, but the cards, kind of add and assist to the gameplay by adding certain things. I think there's actually might be events in here as well. It's been a while since I played this, and I don't know if they've added things different to. Yeah, so each one of these factions has their own deck. So let's take a look at the Rangers here first. Oh, it had a little strip on the side. I didn't see that. So this is the deck that's going to be unique to the Rangers there. Card quality is okay. It's kind of thin, but it's okay. I mean, it's not real cheap quality, but they are a little thin. But here's your different cards here, and you can play these in certain play when your opponent announces a shot. So they have some conditional things that you have here. And there might be a rule on how many of these you have in your hand or how you get these. But there is these are very reminiscent of the ones that are in Heroes, because this is basically for the basic troops, right? The real troops, the non-supernatural natural guys. So this adds a little bit of replayability and a little bit of nuance to the game, where you might try to save your cards and have hand management to play some of these at the right time to get the upper hand on the other side. But then the other side's got cards as well, so you don't know when they're gonna spring something on you. So there's a little bit of kind of outthinking or bluffing or what have you that goes on with some of this card play in here. And I think these are for the Germans. And these I think are going to have mostly similar things that are in the Ranger deck. I don't know how supernatural these all get. Now the last deck, I think, which are like the cultists or whatever, or the Cthulhu people, they're probably going to be very ungodly shield. That's a little different, right? So they're getting some supernatural stuff in the German deck here, but then these guys probably are more on that side of something out of the norm of what to expect. Look at those guys there. They got some stuff that Thank the Scales. So look at that. Got like a lizard with two machine guns there. Kind of cool. So again, if you want straight up World War II, then and don't like anything, you know, too cartoonish or whimsical or supernatural, or there's that terror symbol there, or anything that's out of, you know, strict Battle of the Bulge, this is probably not going to be something you're interested in. But if you like Heroes of Normandy, then and want to try something a little bit different and get into some of the supernatural stuff, then maybe this is a must buy, especially if you get it for the right price. This is a steal. So a lot of cardboard in this box, right? So 6 of those counters there, counter sheets, big thick counters, 6 big thick boards, dual-sided. There's your campaign book. There is your rule book. And that is what you get in a box of Shadows of Normandy. Anyway, that's what I have for you today on Sci-Fi Fantasy Saturday. There's a lot of content that's been added onto this. There's been, British and Canadian and German and artillery, and there's been a ton of stuff that's come out for this over the years. In fact, there's a Big Red 1, which is kind of a reboot of this, and then there's a Stalingrad one. So there's a lot of stuff that goes with Heroes of Normandy, but this is the only thing that I think came out for the Cthulhu side. Again, I don't know how compatible they are, but I'll look into that. I got to imagine that I can take some of my favorite dudes from over here and have them fight some, get it on with some Cthulhu guys going on over here. I don't know what I just said there. Anyway, so there's Shadows of Normandy, Heroes of Normandy. They all started with Frontiers here. Love to know your thoughts on this. Is anybody out there like this? Has anybody tried this? Love this? Hate this? Indifferent to any of this? Love to know your thoughts. Drop a comment. Thanks for stopping by. I know this was a long one, but there was a lot to go in that box, and I wanted to give the context with Heroes of Normandy. All right. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday. It's right after Thanksgiving, so hope you all had a safe and happy Thanksgiving and spent some quality time with friends, family, loved ones. We need more of that in this world. So I'm hoping the best for all of you and each one of you, and have a good one. Thanks for watching.